Hello, everyone. Welcome back to PopCultx, your go-to for all things pop culture from a Gen X point of view. I say go-to, but is it really? I mean, I hope it is. I hope you've liked, subscribed, and shared our show with all your friends. I got well, first off, my name's Danny, and along with Gabe, we're here to chat things pop culture. I got a analytic report from YouTube this week, and it showed basically how we did the previous week, which is cool. I mean, it gave a little bit of insight, and it seems like a lot of you are watching. There was over 280 people that came and watched our shows, so from our channel. So I thought that was pretty cool. You guys are sharing. There was over 10 shares. So thank you for that. It's a little good to know that you guys are actually watching it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. That is cool.
But yeah, we're in episode 115, which is pretty cool. We are here, and it is Comic-Con week this week when we're recording this, which is always fun and exciting, especially if you live in or around the San Diego area, because there's the whole Comic-Con, but then, of course, there's all the free events that happen on, as you put it, adjacent to Comic-Con. So, So it's going to be a great week for all those of us pop culture nerds out there who really love it. So, Gabe, with that being said, how are you doing this week? How's everything going for you?
Doing pretty good. It's been kind of a slow week outside of shaving my beard. There really hasn't been a lot going on here.
That dominated the headlines for you. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of work stuff. So been really busy with work. So haven't really had a chance to really sit down and listen to anything or watch anything. I am reading a kid's book. I think it's a kid's book or a young adult book by the name of Cirque du Freak. It was made into a movie. It's about a circus that is like a freak show, and these kids that get caught up in the activities of this circus, and kind of goes from there. So I've been kind of reading that. I sometimes I don't like reading really heavy stuff, so I'll buy like a young adult novel just to kind of, it's like watching like The Simpsons or like American Dad for me, like something that's maybe that's not a good example. Maybe like watching an animated feature that is made for kids, like The Incredibles, or what's the one that we just talked about last week?
Nimona.
Nimona. Like Nimona was based off of a graphic novel for young adult. And so sometimes I don't want something that I have to really think about. I just want something that's kind of light to kind of take my mind off of my adulting that I have to do. So anyway, so that's what I'm reading right? So it has vampires in it. Yeah. It has vampires, bearded ladies, tarantula that does tricks, so all kinds of cool like freak show type stuff. So I've been doing that. And then also catching up on some episodes of Project Runway. So when I'm not reading, I've been watching that. Have you had a chance to watch this new All-Star season?
I have. I've watched a few episodes. It's an All-Star, like you said, so they brought back a lot of contestants from previous seasons. So it's always fun to see, especially with this, where they brought two contestants back from the very first season. So I thought that was really cool to see how they've grown, not just as fashion designers, but as people, because we saw them when they were like young kids, right? And we were probably, we grew up with probably at the same age as what they are, and especially when they were on the show. And now to see them 18 years later, and how they've grown and, matured, and how things have changed for them. I thought that was really interesting, and I really like that.
Yeah. Is there anyone in particular that you're rooting for, that you really like their designs, or like them as a person maybe that you want to see them win?
That's a good question. I do like, I think her name is Brittany. I like her athletic leisure style. I don't know if she'll win. I like, is her name Laurence, I think? I like her. I always think she's an interesting character too. I like her leather work and her details from her previous season. What's the gentleman's name? I think it's like Baptiste or something.
Yeah, I think it is. It's I think it is Baptiste.
I think he's from like Haiti or something, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like his style, and I like how he brings his culture into everything he does. So I
Yeah.
really enjoy that from him. And but you know, although he's not a contestant, I always enjoy Christian Soriano's take on everything. I think he is a character, and I think without him on the show, I don't know if I'd even watch it because it
Yeah.
could get kind of boring. He really livens it up. So kudos to him for making it fun and interesting for everyone.
Yeah, he's definitely the comic relief of the show. I think not having uh, Tim Gunn, you
Hmm.
could think, oh, Tim Gunn kind of made it as being a advisor, but Christian's so fun. I'm rooting for Rami. I don't know if you're familiar
Yeah.
with who he is,
Hmm.
but I actually met him here in San Diego,
Oh,
probably
nice.
right after his first season when he was on. I met him at a bar, and
With
he's a really
Christian,
nice
right?
guy. He was really
Yeah.
cool. You know, yeah, he was on that same season as Christian Siriano, and he was really cool when I met him. I took a picture with him, wasn't at all like snotty or arrogant, and so hopefully we'll see him go pretty far. I don't know if he'll take the whole race, but he is a cool guy, so I hope that he goes far. So far, though, the challenges have been really interesting. I especially like the non-traditional
Mm.
materials challenges.
Interesting. Okay, you like
Yeah,
those?
because I think it's where it really brings in your um, creativity, and it makes you think outside of the box and not used to what you normally do. And I also do like. I thought it was a really great idea. I don't know if you've seen the episode yet, where they all had the same dress. They all had the same material,
Sure. That's
so
what I was going to
they
talk about. Yeah.
had the same color,
Hmm.
the same fabric. And I thought,
Hmm.
wow, that's talk about leveling the playing field. You can't say
Exactly.
it's not fair because it's the exact same material, exact same color. You have the same resources,
Hmm.
makes it cool.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really cool idea.
I thought that was even showed the creativity even more than a non-traditional, right? So because like you said, it
Yeah.
leveled the playing field. So they didn't have an excuse for I should have got this fabric, I should have got that. It's basically what can you do with this fabric? I think every episode should be with a different bolt of fabric because that really shows their style, how they can build from that. I thought that was really cool, and I'm glad that they did that.
Yeah, I could see that the designers would not be fans of doing that every time because you mentioned Laurent, she's really into
Hmm.
leather, and
Hmm.
so that's sort of how they express themselves is through that
Yeah.
particular
Yeah.
material, and it's so important to their particular aesthetic. So I think that not a lot of designers would really want that, but it does make for an interesting challenge and interesting television shows. So not so much drama this season, but it's been pretty interesting watching so far.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I guess maybe because they've all been through it before, so there's not hasn't
Yeah.
been as much of breakdowns, I guess you would want to say, or drama in that regard. But there was a little bit. I'm not sure if you've caught up completely, but
Mhm.
with one of the winners, I guess, who won the challenge, and some of the other contestants didn't really like the fact of who won because they thought it was the same sort of design from a previous
Yeah.
outfit. So that was a little bit of drama.
I saw their point of view. I did watch that episode, and it was because of like some ruffling that she did,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And I thought, well, it's not really fair because people have a certain aesthetic. You can't say like Laurent can't do leather again or can't do a leather hoodie or a leather jacket because she's done one before. That's their thing. That's
Yeah,
that's
that's
their
true.
identity. And so I felt like it was more of the designer's aesthetic and then her just doing the same type of design over again. But I
Really?
saw where
Hmm.
they're coming from. I saw,
I thought
I
it
saw.
the other way.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I thought it was basically the same dress. And because I guess the challenge is to, push yourself and to create new things. And here she is just rolling out the same thing. So
Yeah.
we'll see if she does it again.
Yeah, I could see that she will do it again because it is like a trick up her sleeve, like
Yeah.
that's sort of what she likes doing. But maybe she'll elevate it. I'm not a fan of her designs, so I should say
Yeah.
that. So like I'm not protecting her or like defending her because she's not one of my favorite designers. But I don't know. Whenever a group attacks one person, it's like it's not her fault. If anything, be mad at the judges because they're allowing her to do that. But
That's true. I could
and
see
I
that.
think they
Yeah.
did that. Someone apologized to her and said that
Yeah.
they were being a little too rough on her and it wasn't her fault or whatever. But yeah, so far that's the only drama that's really ensued on Project Runaway this season.
Yeah.
I'm just a couple episodes above that particular episode, so really interested to see where it goes this season.
Yeah, I need to catch up. I think I'm a couple episodes. I think I'm just after that, so we'll see. Well, speaking of judges, though, Nina Garcia, she's been there since the very beginning, and she looks like she's not aging at all. She looks fantastic. So that's that. I thought that was really cool. That's what stood out to me too.
She's a Latina. Latinas don't age at the same rate as regular people do. I'm sorry, like I shouldn't say regular, but
Regular.
as other people, other ethnicities, like it just it's a different type of. I mean, you look at people like J Lo, Sofia Vergara. They just they don't age, and so Nina Garcia attests to that.
Yeah.
She is very well preserved.
Well preserved. Well, while we were watching that, I also watched a movie this past week, Evil Dead Rise, written directed by Lee Cronin, and it was fun. I mean, it was it was in the Evil Dead universe, right? So it had the Necronomicon. Have you seen the movie first off?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. So you've seen it. So, and what I really liked about it was that they took that whole isolated in the woods feeling and moved it into an apartment complex and then threw in like 30,000 gallons of fake blood because it was very bloody, very gory. I mean, that doesn't bother me, but it was just so over the top that you just had to either hate it or just dive into it and enjoy it. And I really went with the enjoyment part. I thought it was really fun. I like their different takes on the whole family aspect of it, and that's what made it work. And yeah, I really cool. I halfway through, I was questioning what the director was thinking of including that first little scene at the lake where the lady comes out of the water and the Evil Dead Rise sign comes up behind her. And then of course I just had to stick it out and it made sense at the end. So I thought that was really cool. But yeah, it was really fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it is a really fun film. If you're a fan of gory horror, it's probably one of the goriest horror films that I've seen outside of The Terrifier 2. I don't know if you've seen that yet.
Not yet.
But that one is probably slightly gorier, but just barely. I don't really mind a lot of blood when it comes to films. I'm not really like I'm not really a torture horror movie kind of guy. Like I'm not really into like those Saw films or things of that nature. I do love a good movie about demons and possession and all of that. So that's right up my my alley when it comes to what type of horror movies. They're just really cool. I mean, it like you said, I think that taking it out of the woods and into the urban jungle was a really cool aspect of the film. And being trapped within your own building is something that I think that like speaks to like COVID, like post-COVID, of being trapped inside of your home and your relationship with your family and feeling, all of that emotion kind of bubbling up. Could be a really good metaphor for how a lot of people were feeling during COVID. So it was a really good film. It was fun.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I didn't even think about it like that, but yeah, now you mention it, it's very true. It is a very good metaphor for it.
Yeah, not that we were getting possessed by demons while we were in COVID, but it's a metaphor.
Well, maybe you weren't. No.
Yeah.
Maybe others were.
I don't want to speak in generalities, but I don't think we were getting possessed by demons. But did you find that the son was a little annoying?
Yes. He shared my name, right, Danny? So yeah.
Yeah, like the guy who basically it's fault that all of this occurs.
Well, it's always one person's fault. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of when they make kids be real idiots, because I tend to think that kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. And the fact that he like jumps down this hole and is trying to investigate what's at the bottom of this hole, and then see all these crosses and weird shit, and then it's like, oh, let me get these records and let me play them, and and then obviously it goes crazy from there. But it's like, what kind of kid would do that? Like, I don't know, it just seems like maybe they made him a little too stupid.
Well, I mean, one of them has to be the impetus for everything happening. And I think, to his defense, he was a DJ, right? Or trying to be a DJ. So he was, maybe thought maybe there's some cool sounds on here I can use to spin with and, incorporate into my mix. Why he tried to open the book. I mean, I think even he tried to walk away from it at the point where his sister said, you know what, put it down. But then he actually pricked himself and the blood made it open, the book open. So that's, if he had not nicked himself, maybe they would have all been saved. But
and on the records, if I remind me, because I saw it in the movie theater, so I saw it a while ago. Isn't there a warning at the end of the record, not at the beginning?
I think you're correct. Yeah, I think so. The
warning.
Recall? I
just remember seeing the movie theater and being like, now there's a warning.
Yeah, like, yeah, exactly. I think there was. Yeah,
now you're getting a warning.
And it was funny that they started chanting the words of power to like release the demon, right? And he couldn't stop it at that point. So, and then the warning came. Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought it was kind of a funny like plot point that it's like, one, why didn't you destroy the records? Like, why keep them?
Why keep them? Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
And then then record a warning at the very end. Like, how about you just destroy the records and not allow it to happen? I don't know.
Well,
but it's fun.
It's fun. Exactly.
It's sort of like, what was the big machine that killed the demon at the end? It was like a tree hedge, a trimmer, or like, what was that?
Yeah, a tree like disposal type thing, right? It's like a grinder, like tree thing, a mulcher. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's like when you see it, it's like, why was that there in the building? Oh yeah, one of the neighbors just happens to be a landscape person, and they park their tree hedge trimmer there downstairs. Like, of course it would be there. Like, why wouldn't it?
Of course. I mean, everything was foreshadowed in there. I mean, you see a pair of scissors slide underneath the couch. They're gonna come in handy at some point, right? So I enjoyed it. I mean, I like the Evil Dead series, going back to the original, Sam Raimi's version, Part 2, and then of course Army of Dead is probably one of my favorite ones. No, not Army of Darkness. Sorry, excuse me. And then Evil Dead, the 2013 version with Jane Levy, was pretty good. I thought that was a lot of comparison between the two movies, right? The 2013 version and this version. And I don't know. I don't know which one I liked more. I think the 2013 version might have been a little bit more hedging towards, we're going to scare you type of thing. Whereas this version was more like, let's see how bloody and gory we can get. And we're just going to revel in that.
Yeah.
So
it was pretty gory, and there were some good scary moments in it. I appreciate. I really liked the part with, like, wasn't there a part with like a cheese grater
on the leg? Yeah, that was like, oh,
or like she.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was spine tingling. Yeah. I mean, especially because
good. I liked it.
Because it's something that, if you've ever grated cheese or anything on one of those, you can imagine what it would feel like if you get your fingers or scrape it on your skin, and how much that would hurt. And just, just going down the back of your leg. It's, yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
I also I listened to a couple unplugged albums. So remember back in the day, MTV Unplugged used to be the big thing. Of course, my favorite Unplugged album, of course, is Nirvana, MTV Unplugged in New York. It's probably my favorite album, one of my favorite albums of all time. It's just a wonderful album from start to finish. So I listened to Mana has a nice Unplugged album. So I was listening to that, the acoustic. And then I went a little newer or more recent, and that was in April, 21 Pilots put out an Unplugged version
Oh,
of
really?
a few songs, which I thought was interesting because they say right up from the beginning, this is unplugged, but as you can see, we're plugged in, of course, because they use a lot of heavy synthesizers and stuff, and they can't really replicate that in an unplugged environment.
Yeah.
So what they did and what the frontman said was that he sees unplugged not as so much as acoustic, but more as hearing songs different than you're used to hearing them. So when they recorded that album, they did it in a way that all the samples they played, they were doing it live right there on stage. So they were
Oh, nice.
using some audience sounds. They were using like different, make a clap, and people were doing like drum stuff. So they were incorporating all that in there. So it was a really cool album. They do a lot of cool mixes. So like car radio goes into Heathens, which I thought was really cool. And of course, I mentioned Heathens because I just watched Suicide Squad last night again for the second time ever, and I'll get to that in a little bit if you want. But yeah, that's a good album if you really want to hear something different. It's really short. It's like 40 minutes. It's a good album.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, and Suicide Squad, speaking of Heathens and comic books, it was, I guess I've really undersold DC movies, or maybe I'm just more open to it because it was fun. I don't know why I hated on it so much or why people hate on DC movies. And I know in the past I have, because they've been so disconnected. They were disjointed. They were a mess. But you know what? If you take each movie individually and just sit down, and if you're a comic book fan, they're really fun. I really enjoyed the Suicide Squad movie. It was fun.
I've always been a fan of them, and I never really talked badly about DC. Never really understood it. I honestly thought that it was part of Disney like paying off critics, because when Suicide Squad got such bad critiques, I thought Disney surely is paying people off to like say it's the worst movie that's ever come out ever, because it's not that bad. Like,
it's not.
It's actually good.
Yeah.
And I was really like, I just couldn't figure out why people hated it so much, because I thought it was entertaining and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it was unfortunate that we didn't get so much of a backstory, but I really want to know more about El Diablo character and how like he was just like super powered. Of course, it was short bursts, and it's not a spoiler, but he kind of like he sacrifices himself for the rest of the team. And so I want to know more about that character. Maybe I just need to go start reading more DC comics.
Yeah, I think that he had like a 4-issue arc with El Diablo, and maybe it might have been, I don't remember the other character, but there was like a 4-issue episode or issue. I think I have it. A 4-issue arc with El Diablo in it.
Oh, and of course,
I got it in the dollar bin.
That's okay. There's lots of great comic books you can find in there, especially if you're unsure of whether you like it or not. The dollar bin is great for that.
Yeah.
Like we said, Comic-Con is this week, and we're going to be doing some cool stuff here at PopCultx. So be sure to follow us on Instagram. Maybe I'll put up who we're going to have later on, or should we just tease it? I don't know yet, but we're going to be having a few comic book creators that we've had on the show before, and they're going to be doing some cool Instagram live with us. So we're going to be doing a lot of questions. So be sure to go follow us on Instagram, because that's where it's going to be held. And that way you're notified of when we go live with these creators. So it's going to be fun. I know I could see one of the artists that's going to be joining us is in your background. The other writer will be with us has written a character that has a movie coming out next month. There you go. There's Spider-Punk and whatnot. So yeah, be sure to follow us. We will be that Warpath is pretty cool.
Is that subtle enough?
Yeah, that was subtle enough. Speaking of the Warpath that you see there, I've been playing a lot of Marvel Snap Game, and Maria Wolf has a lot of her variants now coming out as the collectible cards in the game. So
oh, really?
It's really cool. Yeah. So you should download the game and start playing it. It's fun just so you can collect the cards and have another version of them. I have a lot of, I think my favorite is like this Elektra by Marco Cicchetto that I have. It's really cool. It's in his style. There's basically like almost like the covers on the card. So it's really fun. It's another cool way to collect stuff.
Yeah, that is cool.
So yeah, that's all I have for this week. Nice, short, and simple. We look forward to chatting with those creators. So be sure, like I said, find us on Instagram, go to our website, find us from there, follow us on YouTube. And yeah, we look forward to a couple more fun videos this week for you guys.
Well, check it out. Give us a follow.
All right, so stay safe, everyone, and we will see you next time.